Today we have a wonderful, wonderful guest who loves to work with teachers. She used to be a teacher, and now she helps STEM teachers to teach with her company, Waymakers, Education Through Making. I love this. Her name is Liz. So Liz, would you please introduce yourself to our wonderful listeners?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. So I am Liz Gallo. I run Ymaker. We do. It happens all the time. We do professional development to teach teachers how to teach STEM and Maker Ed. We work with teachers all over the country, all over the world, and we've been at it for about 3 years now. Prior to this, I was a technology education teacher for over 10 years. I worked in a whole bunch of different schools with all sorts of different kids, ranging from kindergarten through 12th grade. I now teach graduate school too, so I have lots of experience with lots of different students and working with them and doing amazing STEM and Maker Ed projects everywhere. And the last couple of years, we've been working with schools, working with individual teachers and organizations just to bring STEM and Maker Ed to life. And it's been incredible.
Hey, Maker, and I love the fact that you have the Maker in there. Why Maker? Because it must have been about 3 years ago I learned about maker spaces in libraries, and we don't truly have maker spaces in schools. So, I love the concept, I love the thought, and working with our wonderful teachers. So what inspired you to start Y Makers?
Actually, it was maker spaces. So it's a really interesting story. This man sent me, who I know through teacher organizations, sent me an email and said, check out what this guy Lewis is doing in Queens, New York. I'm based in New York City. And he said, check out what this guy Lewis is doing. So I don't read the email. I ignore it, whatever. And then I get back around to the email, and Lewis is helping a school design and build their makerspace. So I was like, oh, if one school needs help designing and building a makerspace, then many schools must need help designing and building makerspaces. That's basically what I've been doing as a technology teacher for the last 10 years. I'm gonna start doing this and start helping schools design and build makerspaces. And what I quickly realized was that schools, school leaders, and teachers appreciated me for my ability to be a good teacher rather than my ability to decorate a classroom. So I quickly pivoted to doing professional development and helping teachers either use the makerspace they have or work together to develop a makerspace in their schools and teach really great hands-on STEM, Maker Ed, design thinking projects.
And I'm thinking about what you're saying. One of the things I noticed at every school I've ever taught at, to include this one, we have tons of things that our schools have bought throughout the years that we're not using. And I know at every school I've been to, I've pulled those things out and started using them in my classroom. And I mean, from manipulatives to 3D printers to, all kind of things. And you're right. Us as teachers, our schools have a lot of things that we can already use to make a maker space. So, yeah. So what do you do when you go into a school and start to work with them?
Right. So it depends on what the school has and wants. I spend a lot of time talking with the leadership about what's your vision here for STEM? What's your vision for Maker Ed? And then try to work backwards from there. Oftentimes, I'll meet schools when they're in the middle of building a maker space. And they're like, what do we buy? What do we buy? And I'm like, what do your teachers want to use? What do your students want to use? What are your goals? And then we can work from there. Or other times it's, we have a makerspace with jillions of dollars of equipment and no one's using it. And I'm like, okay, does anyone know how to use it? And they're like, well, and I'm like, probably not. So let's go in and train teachers on how to use it, and what they can possibly do with it, and train students. And another thing we've been doing a lot lately is training some STEM or Maker Ed coaches in-house to be those like instructional leads when Y-Maker isn't there. And just trying to leave this confidence in these instructional leaders to help teachers be successful when Y-Maker has left. And that's just a goal of like sustaining STEM and Maker Ed in schools.
Now, Liz, you said you have worked with K through 12 in your lifetime, from teaching to what you're doing now. Let's look at the elementary side. Let's say K through 5th grade. What are you seeing some of the things that are, I don't want to say lacking, but some of the things that are needed as far as helping these teachers? Because I know when I was teaching and when I was doing training, a lot of those teachers from 1st through 5th grade really didn't want to do, they didn't have a problem with math, but they really didn't want to do science, and they didn't want to do like engineering type things. So what are some of the gaps that you may see?
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Teachers feel comfortable doing math or feel comfortable doing ELA.
Yes.
Because there's a really structured pathway for them to take. Whether they're getting a curriculum handed to them or a curriculum map handed to them, it's really, this is what you have to do, and this is what you have to do for the test at the end of the year, and the test is on this date, so hurry up and get there. So teachers are, we see that all the time with teachers, and they shy away from science and math, or science and social studies and engineering and technology, because that's not, their specialty. So what I try to show teachers is that there is such a robust connection between science and technology and engineering and math and ELA and social studies, that we can have this incredibly meaningful, powerful project that can teach all of your content, and that can get kids invested in ways that you've never seen them before, and have them learning skills that you never expected them to be learning. So helping teachers see those connections and seeing how, it can happen is something that, I focus on, trying to open up some eyes to that. The other thing we focus on is the project planning, because a lot of times teachers will say, okay, we'll just do this project. And it's either like an afterthought, or it's like not done to incredible quality, where it just feels like haphazard and like nothing meaningful happened. So I really focus on teaching teachers how to plan out projects so that kids are getting everything they need out of that project, and the teacher's job is easier because the project isn't in complete chaos, and everything's managed and under control. So that's what we focus on, and that's where we see gaps in teachers.
Yeah, and and it's the why. Why did we do this? A lot of teachers never explain to their kids why we're doing this and how it connects. I'm doing a project now with bridges, and the little girl asked me today, she goes, my cousin asked me, why did we need to build this bridge? And then the young lady, the little girl, start going into, well, because we have to learn the design process. And she go, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to her, and I'm on the verge of crying. But I'm like, she learned something.
And you hear yourself come out of her mouth, and you're like, yes.
I know. Yeah. It's kind of scary. No, it's real scary. But yet and still, you know, what we do in elementary school is far different than middle school and high school. So give me your same take or same view on what middle school, not just a STEM teacher, but what middle school teachers require.
So middle school teachers require a little bit more of the it's okay to let go. It's okay to not constantly be um, yeah. So it's okay for kids to be doing these projects and especially to be doing these group projects where they're learning to collaborate with each other and not only thinking about themselves all the time, thinking about the others around them. Middle school is also a great time for kids to start to develop and practice their empathy. So using STEM projects as a way to develop empathy with others and understand that there is a whole world of people out there and not everything that's happening is happening in my brain. So that's a great time to be doing that as well. Middle school teachers typically need help with like the project-based learning aspect of it, where it is more open-ended and we're presenting to an authentic audience and it's not that lockstep in every class all the time. That kids in middle school, they want to get up, they want to move, they want to create, they want to do. They're very active at that age and they need to be doing things that satisfy that feeling.
Mm. And, you know, I like that concept of the empathy and everything and the project-based learning. And listening to you, it's like giving the kids the ownership instead of the teacher having sole ownership of everything. You know, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to do it. And when you're done, it's done.
Right.
And,
right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see that a lot as a STEM teacher, that usually you're doing the least amount of work in the room, right? Where the kids are the ones that are hustling and running around and figuring stuff out and trying again and doing this and doing that. And you're just like watching and like advising. And you realize that when you stop being the content creator, especially now in our digital world, you let the kids create, you have a lot less work to do as a teacher. You put the ownership on the kids, you make them responsible for it, and they'll do it, they'll take you up on it, especially middle school kids. When you put the ownership on them, they will.
I mean, if you were to look in my classroom right now, I have all of these bridges that students have built and sent back. And I told them, you have to find your own design team within your family, your own engineering team within your family, and explain to them what you're doing and let them read what you're supposed to do. And I was shocked at some of the bridges that I got back.
That's awesome.
I've had them that hold as little as 7.5 pounds to 60 pounds and haven't broke yet. So I've got to go get some more weights from the gym.
Wow, that's amazing. Are they using just materials they find at home, or did you send home kits?
I sent home 100 popsicle sticks, or maybe 150, 1,800 toothpicks, Elmer's glue, and the clamps, the butterfly type clamps. That was all I sent home.
Nice.
And I was like, wow. I've had 2 bridges to hold 60 pounds and haven't broke yet.
That's amazing. That's so exciting. And they were using their families as their design team. I love that. That's so exciting. Yeah.
So, but I mean, in this digital age, that's totally and utterly important, because we do still have students that are in school during this time, but we have students that are learning remotely, and that was one of the things that was a little hard for me. But I want to go back to the original question. High school, what are some of the things you're seeing in high school?
Yeah, so high school teachers are a little similar to the middle school teachers. They don't want to let go. They have a very strict curriculum that they need to stick to, with a big test at the end of the year, and they feel like what they're doing is the way forward. And one of the schools we worked with last year and continued through the shutdowns in the spring was Goshen High School in New York. And it's like your typical American school. Like, it is just like every other high school out there. And the teachers, we pulled together a cohort of teachers who wanted to focus on project-based learning and STEM and using their brand new makerspace. And the teachers, once they were open to it, their students created incredible projects that they could have never imagined that their students would be able to make. And all it took was a little bit of confidence and a little bit of, it's okay, you can let go of your lockstep curriculum, and we can, your students can create amazing things while still learning really important skills. Another thing with high school teachers, and really all teachers, is that careers connection, where we need to be making explicit connections to careers for kids of all ages, really. And I think teachers really struggle with careers because as a teacher, you went to school, then you went back to school to learn about school, and then you went back to school to be a teacher in school. So you know nothing but school. So teachers really don't know what's out there for careers. Most teachers don't. So it's really opening up teachers' eyes also to careers that they're creating children for. And these aren't careers of the future, careers that aren't invented yet. These are careers that are happening right now that teachers don't even know about, that we're trying to send kids into. And that could be CTE careers, or where they come out of high school with a certificate and get an amazing paying job, or it could be for college or beyond. And we really need to be having those conversations with teachers and with students.
You are so right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining All About STEM Radio, I have a wonderful guest, Liz. She is the owner of Y Makers, Education Through Making, a excellent young lady who works with teachers in the STEM professions and works with schools and works with students. Y'all, she's a little bit scary because, I'm a little bit intimidated, but I am just having such a wonderful conversation. And if you're just joining us, please, contact somebody, especially somebody that is in the field of education, and have them log on and listen, because this is a great conversation. So, Liz, you mentioned something at the end that I have been pushing forever and ever and ever, and that is that careers piece. Because I come from a state, Texas, that always had vocational schools, okay? So when you graduate, you can graduate with a license in cosmetology, dental assistance, pharmacy tech, some of those. But working here, working in South Korea, working in Dubai, those things are not in place, especially in schools. And I'm going to talk about here in Hawaii. When I talk to my kids about careers, one young lady said, well, I want to do hair. And I'm like, well, what is the term for doing hair? She's like, doing hair? She goes, I just want to be a hairdresser. I'm like, what about cosmetology? Have you thought about that? And so she started looking that up. But you have to start with the proper terminology. And I love the fact that, you're working that also, because when you graduate school, there's so much out there that you need to know about. So I know that wasn't a question. That was one of those broad statements that I get into.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, teachers really have no idea what's out there and don't know how to talk to kids about what's out there. And I think that terminology piece is really important. You made me think about all the times, kids would say to me, I just want to do hair, I just want to do nails, and not really diving into what does that mean or how do I get there? How do I just don't get a job. I do have to get some sort of license or certification. And it's amazing that that's possible in high school. And, you can walk out of high school with a great license and a degree and have a great job. And, there's Perkins funding in every state that, got passed this year, and an increase to, support education like that for our students. And it's a really great fields. And it's also a great fields for people in industry who want to become teachers and want to inspire more people into their industry. So it's a great whole field, and there's such a supportive community around it too, which I love. But we do need to be having conversations with all kids about all types of careers, because there's so much out there that we don't even realize.
Yeah. I mean, from this show and talking to people, I learn about new careers every week, every month. I never knew there was a career in science or STEM communication. You can just get a degree in that. I'm like, what does that look like? So that's one of the things that I've been looking at, or I have a list of careers that I'm like, oh my goodness, some of them I have forgotten about. So
some you interact with every day and don't ever think that that's a career, right? My fiance is a lighting designer for musicians. So if you go see a concert and all the lights that go on and the smoke and the fire, he's the one designing and programming all of that, which is such a heavy STEM career. He's basically coding and programming. The things he uses look very similar to Scratch. And he connects and line draws pieces together. It's amazing what he does. There's so much math involved, so much tech. And he is, it's a true STEM career. And those are programs that we do offer high school kids to, it's a great way to be connected to music without being a musician.
Okay. Speaking of what he does and what you offer, what are some of the things that you offer to schools, to students? What are some of your programs that you have?
So we typically offer any sort of STEM or maker ed professional development. So if your school says, we just bought a bunch of 3D printers and no one's using them, we'll come to your school, or even virtually, we've done this, and train teachers on how to use 3D printers and how to incorporate them into their classes. So writing project plans, we do that with robots and electronics and all the makerspace stuff. So that's one technical aspect that we offer. We also just offer we want to be a STEM school. How do we become a STEM school? So working with a whole community and helping them become a STEM school. And we build in what's the definition of STEM, and we build leadership in the building who carries forth this mission of STEM, we do professional development on the project planning and the implementation. We build out design processes with schools. So it's really this intensive multi-year project where we help schools become STEM schools. And then we also do other PD a lot with the career and technical education teachers about, how to teach. So you are an expert in your field. Now let's build in some strategies that are, we focus on universal design for learning with CTE teachers. So making sure that we're incorporating all of our students and reaching them in different ways. So we're taking my teaching experience and expertise and my CTE experience and expertise and merging them together to make teachers, so outstanding in what they're doing and connecting great teaching and great content. Another thing we've been doing lately that I'm absolutely loving is building this STEM community for teachers. So every week on Wednesday afternoons, we are having a Teaching STEM Now workshop where a group of teachers are joining us and coming together and talking about what it's like to teach STEM in this strange, remote, hybrid not remote, crazy world. And what projects are we doing and how are we doing it, and helping each other solve problems. So we're building this amazing STEM community that is growing and growing, that we're really excited about. And, it's kind of my dream come true.
And I like that. You caused me to have a couple of questions in my head. One, I wrote down. The other one, it went away, but it'll come back. When we look at CTEs, and that's what's very important right now, because so many of us can't go to a conference or go to a training situation. How are you helping those teachers to get that continuing education?
We're doing everything virtually. We are mailing maker kits to teachers. So if we're doing professional development with a school, we'll talk about what we're going to do during that workshop. And instead of me bringing stuff to the physical space, I'll pack it up and mail it to each teacher. So each teacher has their own kit ready to go for the workshop, which teachers are loving. They love getting the kit. They love working with it. And I'm throwing all sorts of goodies in there all the time of just, stuff we have around. So that's been great. And this STEM community we're building is really helping teachers who feel isolated from their regular colleagues, who potentially feel are usually the only STEM teacher in the building. Building this community where we're connected and we support each other virtually. So those are some things we're doing.
And I see something behind you that I am extremely familiar with. The three ducks.
Yeah.
I love those. I've got those at home. I didn't bring those to Hawaii with me, but I have those at home. So I'm like, yes, I know Marcy.
Marcy's the best. This summer we did, Marcy and I did a project with a nonprofit in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which typically they send tutors to school to help support specific students in their reading and their math and just their social, emotional growth. And that nonprofit contracted us to do an 8-week program where we sent 3 ducks kits to each of these students. And then I trained tutors every week to implement virtually this whole design project around designing and creating something to help someone in your home using the 3 ducks. So it was such an amazing, inspiring project. We have, like we were just talking about, a girl finished that 8-week process with us, a little adorable little girl, and she was on camera unprompted and goes, I just want to be an engineer when I grow up because now I understand engineers help other people.
Yes.
And we were so taken aback by her saying that and just making that connection that engineers help people. And now that's what she hopes to do in the future. So it was a really great project.
It's that light bulb just came over her. And I love that. I mean, because, you're doing something that takes it those 2 or 3 steps further than when I first started teaching. You do a lab and it was over. And I made it a point to where no lab was ever over. If we did a osmosis lab, and then we started talking about cells or we started talking about other things, I started making all of that connect. So, but I mean, that is awesome. Now, you mentioned your, before I go any further, because it's already 3:30 and we stop at 3:52. I need for people to know how to contact you. What is your website, webpage, whatever you want to share with them. Do not share your personal phone number.
So I actually do have a phone number, which you can text me at, which is awesome. So you just send me a text to this number and I send out teacher tips every week. We can chat about anything you're thinking about, any projects that are happening in your class. So anyone can text me, and it's like a part of our community. The number is 347-584-8461. So you can just send me a text, say, heard you on this All About STEM radio show, and we'll have some fun conversations. So that's one way we can get in touch. The other way is at our website. There's so many great resources on our website.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah. So www.ymaker.co, WHYMAKER.co. And we're all over social media at Ymaker, so you can find us literally on every platform. And I just got back into my Pinterest, so we are back on Pinterest, pinning away too. So check us out on all of the social media platforms. You can send me an email through there or a message. I'm available however you need me.
Are you on Teacher Pay Teachers?
Yes, we're on Teachers Pay Teachers too.
Okay.
Yep. We're there too. Lots of good stuff about 3D printing, and STEM project planners are on there, and there's some good stuff about careers on Teachers Pay Teachers, on our Teacher Pay Teacher, Ymaker also.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because a lot of school districts will get a Teacher Pay Teachers membership. Mm-hmm. And, if teachers can find you there also, and also in Ymakers, that's, they don't have to necessarily pay for that because their district has already taking care of that for them.
Totally.
So,
totally. Yep. It's a great place to find us. There's also lots of free stuff on our website too.
I'm looking at it now. I want to ask you a couple of things. Well, I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of things because that's what I do. That's what we do on the radio. Your design challenges, give me a little feedback on those, or a little information on those. Not feedback, but information.
Sure. So pandemic hit last year, and I was like, I need to do something to help teachers. And I started seeing these like cute projects popping up, and I was like, I know what I can do. I can create design challenges for teachers to give out to students to do at home. Yes. Low pressure. So they're design prompts. Some of them have little stories built around them, but there's 30 of them, and they have just different design challenges, like school buses are boring. How can you redesign a school bus so that it's engaging and fun for you? You found a new type of animal. What kind of environment does it need? How are you going to keep it safe? Just all sorts of interesting creative challenges for you to assign to your kids. And I've been getting pictures back of like families building robots in the garage and, making little miniature replicas of whatever they're talking about. Or there's one about creating a new game. And I've been getting videos of kids playing their made-up game. And it's something that kids do naturally, but now that the teacher assigned it, there's a lot more thought that goes into, okay, we have to plan this out, we have to write it down, we have to, demonstrate it, we have to modify it. So there's a lot more that goes into just, assigning make your own game. It's make your own game, write the story, and there's all these other connections we're making to it. So kids and teachers are loving them, and hopefully we'll add more soon.
Okay. Hey, anything you want to share with me, to share on the show's social media, please, 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 because people would love to see any of the things that you are willing to share, like any of the pictures, or you can say, we did this design challenge and this is something that somebody made from it. Please, because that's going to be awesome, for our people, because I do have a lot of educators across the world that listen to the show. I have a lot of actual STEM professionals, engineers and mathematicians and scientists who also listen. But it's the fact of, one of the questions that I think about all the time, everybody in STEM started somewhere, if you're an engineer, if you are a scientist, if you're a mathematician, somebody helped you or taught you or sparked that in you. It could have been your parents, it could have been your teachers, or something like that. With your remote teaching, and I know your remote teaching workshops, I know you send things out to teachers. What are some of the things that you have done in your remote teaching?
So with remote teaching workshops, we really focus on student engagement and building student relationships, because that seems to be like a common complaint issue that teachers have been having is my students are disengaged, my students are turning off their cameras, they're they're not handing in their work, right? Everyone's saying that. And honestly, is it because they're bored? Is it because everything is so 2D where they're on this screen and they're not doing anything? Nothing is coming to life for them. So, our engagement piece with our students, we talk about this all the time. It's just getting kids to do anything, something. Have them create a little book with one sheet of paper. Have them make bridges. Have them make something out of recyclable materials. And it can be connected to your content. It should be connected to your content. It should be, as flexible as possible so that as many kids can participate. And just we need to get them re-engaged in school. And STEM is such a great way to do that right now. And that's what we're really trying to focus our remote workshops on lately.
And, that concept is so well thought out because you're not in that room with those kids, okay? So to have them turn off their cameras, for them, it's normal. And you don't even know if they're sitting in front of that computer or playing a video game. I know just before Thanksgiving, I got in trouble with a kid because I always tell my children, always tell me the truth and you'll never get in trouble. And the student, he was playing a video game. And I said, are you playing a video game? He looked at me and he thought about it. He said, yes, I'm playing a video game because you told me if I don't lie, I don't get in trouble. So I asked him about the video game. I said, are you caught up with all of your work and all of your classes? Because we had like 15 minutes. And he said, yes. I said, well, I'm going to check. So I checked, straight A's. And I asked him, I started asking him questions about the video game and how it was made up. Do you know that sparked like the biggest conversation between he and I, and then other students who played the game chimed in. And I was like, wait a minute, what did I just do?
Right.
So
you enable it. I mean, that's what a good STEM teacher does, enables creativity and curiosity. We have a friend who's a video game designer. That's a career. That's a career choice, to design video games and plan out game strategy and design the graphics in a video game and code it. Those are careers, and we can definitely encourage kids to do that. And it's a huge industry, so we should be encouraging kids to do that. I mean, that's kind of the attitude I've always taken with teaching is, I mean, there's reasons kids do the things they do. And, there's a reason, right? He was done. He had nothing else to do. So he was trying to keep himself quiet and not get in trouble and not cause a scene. He was playing a video game. And, what else was he supposed to be doing, right? There wasn't really tons of other things for him to do. So he did it. And I don't blame him. Any adult would do that too, right? You're waiting online, you're bored, you're playing a game, you're scrolling, and that's just kind of the attitude you have to take. You have to kind of calm down a little bit as a teacher and realize that like adults do this too.
Yeah. I mean, but it just sparked the most amazing conversation. After he said, Doc, I'm done with everything. I said, okay, I'm going to check your grades real quick. And I said, oh, you're fine. And I checked his grades in his other classes, not just in mine. And I said, okay. And so then we just had a conversation about video gaming and how this game worked. And then other students were listening to us and they turned their cameras on and started chiming in. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I fell in love all over again.
Yes, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. I mean, there's so much. Just get kids where they're interested. I mean, school shouldn't be so removed from their regular life. It should be part of their life and
Yeah.
connected. And I think that's what we miss a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Now, based on everything that you're doing, right now, well, over the past 3 years, about how many schools or how many teachers have you worked with?
So last school year, we worked with over 2,000 educators.
Oh, I love it.
And this year, we are more than on track to do over 4,000. Being virtual helps me meet more people and get access to more people. And our STEM community is booming, which is really helping bring people together and train more teachers. But yeah, the goal is just to support teachers. I want teachers to feel comfortable and confident to teach STEM. I want them to, they don't have to be the ultimate STEM Instagram teacher god of the year. We just need to be having conversations like you had about video game design, and that be okay. We just need to be having conversations and doing projects with our students that are engaging them and connecting all of the disciplines that we're teaching them together. And I need every kid in this world to have those experiences frequently, and that's the vision.
And you mentioned something just now, every kid. One of the things that I'm having to deal with here, well, I've had to deal with it everywhere, but more so here, is the special ed population. And I don't mean the students, well, I mean the students with like learning disabilities, ADHD, ADD, Asperger's, and so on and so forth, because I get all of those kids, and I got them when I taught science when I first came here, and I get them in STEM, and dealing with them on camera is so different. I have one young man, I love him to death, but he won't come on camera at all, and then after the class is over, he'll come on camera between what is supposed to be the passing period, and he'll answer everything to me within that 5 minutes, and then he'll go to his next class. And I'm like, okay. So do you have any insight on how to deal with that population?
Yeah, so I taught taught kindergarten through 8th grade at a school for kids with learning disabilities and ADHD, and I taught tech ed there, and it was an amazing experience, and I learned so much. So one of the best tips that I've heard recently is normalize everyone's voice within the first 2 minutes of class. So get every kid to say something to make speaking okay at the beginning of class. And you can try to do the same with video, where everyone turn on your video and show me the color of your shirt today. Or, everyone turn on your video, we're going to talk about liquids. Do you have a liquid by you? Just getting them to normalize the voice on, the video on quickly, and then it becomes normal for the rest of the lesson. Other ideas, maybe giving that kid the questions ahead of time so that prior to class, he's ready with all the questions you're going to ask, so he can be thinking about the answers as the questions are being asked, so that he can then chime in when he's ready to answer those questions. And maybe you can ask him if he wants to directly be called on for an answer, and if he'll respond that way, because he might be comfortable with that. It might take him a second to unmute, turn on the video. That's a lot of executive functioning for kids. So that might be holding him back too during class, and class is going on and going on and going on. And he's like, wait, I was going to answer the question, and now we're, 5 minutes down the road, and I couldn't get the answer out. So it could be that also.
And I noticed again with some of my kids, they don't want to seem as though they don't know or that they're wrong. And I want to go back to the previous kid that we're talking about. He told me the first week of school, I hate this class. And I said, baby, all you got to do is just make it through one semester. And we've done HTML coding. Wonderful. We worked with a program called Elementary where you had to code a story. He did a breakout room that took me 45 minutes to figure out. And once I figured it out, I'm like, this is so simple. I feel so stupid. And he just messaged me over the break with his bridge and how much weight it took and what he did. This kid has like this brain that's out of this world. Mm-hmm. But,
right.
It's learning to work within.
Yeah. So there's another piece that we don't recognize either. And this is especially true for our middle school and high school kids. When you're on video and you're off mute, you're basically on TV to all of your peers. Like, I don't really know many middle school or high school kids that like volunteer to be on TV. I know everyone wants to be an actor or whatever, but that's really tough to overcome. So there's a lot of that like social emotional piece too that makes it difficult for kids to engage. And we have to kind of keep that in mind as well. So there's lots of other ways to get kids to talk. Flipgrid, Jamboard, small breakout rooms might even help. Just chat. So it's really a really interesting time.
And I've used them all, and they've all worked, to a specific extent. And I've had to learn my kids, what I can expect and what I can do with certain kids. And I mean, I'm enjoying this journey, although, I'm saying this journey is over, but I'm quite sure people are taking bets to see how long this is going to last.
I know, me too.
But Liz, I may be coming to work for you, so hey, Liz, I'm bored. Can I come work for you, please?
I would love that.
I would. Trust me, I would. Liz, again, will you tell our listeners who you are, your company, how to contact you, and, that kind of thing?
Sure. So Liz Gallo, founder of YMaker. We are professional development for STEM, Maker Ed, engaging kids in this crazy remote world, and supporting teachers. We can be found at ymaker.co, WHYMAKER.co, and on all the social media platforms at YMaker. And we really want more teachers to join our, Wednesday Teaching STEM Now community workshop sessions. So make sure you check those out on our page. They're on Eventbrite too, if you want to head there to find them. But we're really looking for teachers to continue to build our community and support each other. So make sure you check those out soon.
I like your Wednesday training. Make sure I'm trying to find a link to that because I want to make sure I share that link.
Teaching STEM Now. It's under workshops.
Okay. I want to make sure I share that with our listeners, especially as I said earlier. Right now, it is so hard to find a place to get those CTEs that the teachers need, because you can't go to a conference, you can't go to a training session. Everything has to be done either online while you're at school or online while you're at home.
Right.
So it's not as easy. But we have a couple of minutes left, and I have totally taken over sometimes. But tell us a little bit about the team of people that you work with, or do you have a team, or
Yeah. So we have a team of trainers who, when we were running all over the world trying to train, would, take some of those sessions and do trainings. Since we've been virtual, it's been a lot more of me doing the trainings, which is what I love doing secretly. But we have And then I run a business. And so we also have a back-end office team who is amazing and support getting me out there and, supporting teachers through trainings and stuff. So we're small but mighty still and looking to grow in the next couple of months and years to come, hoping to get that STEM and Maker Ed training to as many teachers as possible across the world. That's our goal.
Well, Liz, it has been amazing talking to you today. But if you could give our listeners one thing to remember, what could that be? One statement, one buzz phrase, one something. And I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. But
that's hard. So what I want teachers to know now is it is possible to do STEM now. It will benefit you and your students. And there is a place where you can come and find support and strategies to do that and do it well. But you are amazing and you are awesome. And I'm so proud of every single teacher out there who is making this work. And I know your students are grateful for you too.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Payton with All About STEM Radio. I come to you every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. here on Fishbowl Radio Network in Globe Life Park, Arlington. Although, I'm still in Hawaii for a few more weeks, and I'm excited about getting back home. And hey, y'all have got to check out Winemakers because, even if you just go to the website, you will spend at least an hour there because there's so much great information. And Liz, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Please do not let this be your last time. And if there's anything that you would love for me to share with my STEM community, please, please, please make sure you share it with me. And don't forget, put me on your mailing list if you have like a mailing list that you do every month, because I'm putting you on mine.
Awesome. Okay. I totally will. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Okay. All right, Angelo, I'm wanting to say good night and bye-bye.